had my Steam Deck OLED for about 6 months now and it is great. But you might have heard some rumblings, and it has to be said, not everything is perfect in the land of the Valve Steam Deck. So, how is this device in 2024? What's the good, what's the bad, and should you still get one in 2024? Or is it better to get one of the many other handheld PCs out there? As you might remember, the OLED was marketed by Valve as a small upgrade from the original LCD, similar to the mid-gen refresh Nintendo did with their Switch. It's a quick rundown of the upgrades. 7-inch 800p LCD to 7.4-inch 800p HDR OLED screen. Storage from 512GB to 1TB for the largest edition. Wi-Fi 5 to 6E. Battery 40 Wh to 50 Wh. And the weight went from 1.47 pounds to 1.41 pounds. This is a lot of talk just to say that we get a number of modest upgrades and quality of life improvements from the OG LCD model. How does this play out in real life? Well, mostly great. I got my 1TB Steam Deck OLED model late November 2023. The plan was to sell my original LCD model and recoup some of the money. This was one of the stipulations my wife made so that I was allowed to buy the Steam Deck OLED. I never ended up selling my original because I just couldn't part with it, to much annoyance of my wife. I just love these devices so much. Being able to play console-like games on the go still amazes me. But like I said, not everything is perfect, and I have two major hang-ups when it comes to the Steam Deck. Let's start with the good, the OLED screen. Its main selling point, and it's obviously amazing. Even after 6 months, I still love it. First, there's of course HDR, or high dynamic range, and games with this feature look stunning. Horizon Forbidden West, Halo Infinite or Cyberpunk just pop a little bit brighter. It probably doesn't come out well on your screen, but it looks great on the Steam Deck. Of course, the SDR content looks great too, and that little bit of extra brightness the screen brings has a lot to do with it. The edition I have also comes with the edged glass, which I personally love because I play a lot in the yard or on the porch, and this is supposed to reduce glare. I only recently found out that this is actually a divisive opinion because the colors of the edged glass come out slightly more muted, but I personally haven't really noticed this. Lastly, the little touted 90Hz refresh rate of the screen, which granted I rarely need because of the AAA gaming performance on the Steam Deck, but when playing indie games or older games, the 90Hz refresh rate feels nice and smooth. Speaking of playing outside, there are usually no outlets, and that brings me to battery life. The battery has been upgraded from 40 to 50 Wh. I've heard quoted numbers of 50% battery life improvement, which I call BS on. I've seen nothing of the kind. I mostly play AAA games on the deck, and as a dad of 3, the TV is very rarely free. I have to get those games in somehow, and that means sitting in a corner hidden away with my Steam Deck somewhere. But let me tell you, even with this new deck, I'm mostly tethered to an outlet. Games like Cyberpunk or Ghost of Tsushima give me about 2 to 2.5 hours worth of playtime before reaching that dreaded 10% battery warning. Having said that, less demanding games usually give me somewhere between 3.5 and 5 hours, so overall it's not bad. The storage too has been upgraded from 512 gigs to 1TB, and I know people say it's easily upgraded, but I'm of the mindset if it ain't broke, don't fix it. To be perfectly honest, I really just don't want to break my deck, and I found that little bit of extra storage just gives me that much more freedom in what I delete and install. And since most AAA games are so freakishly large these days, we're often talking 100 gigs or more, I'm surprised we don't hear more people talking about the 5 to 6E Wi-Fi upgrade. And I have to admit, I've never reached the 6E download potential of 5.4 gigabytes per second, but it still seems to give me a substantial boost in speeds, which I really appreciate when I boot up my deck and has to download another update for a game I just wanted to play for a quick minute. There are a lot of other quality of life improvements that make things just a little bit better. Better Bluetooth and antenna, meaning you won't lose connection to your controller when docked, something that regularly happens with my older model. The weight has been brought down from 1.47 to 1.41. This doesn't sound like it should be noticeable, but it makes a surprisingly big difference. This combined with how comfortable I've always felt that the Steam Deck is, especially in comparison to something like the Switch, and it makes for a very nice device to play on. And that goes for the controls too. It might not be quite pro controller level, but the sticks are comfortable and have good travel. The gyro aiming generally works well if you're into that kind of stuff. And a really big one for me, and the reason I've never even looked into a different handheld PC, is the touchpads. These are so underrated. I never hear anybody talk about these, but I love playing my 4X or RTS games on the Steam Deck, and that is solely due to these trackpads. It's not as comfortable as a mouse maybe, but with some practice it comes very close. There are countless of other little things I love about the Steam Deck. Take for example the SD card hot swapping, or the very responsive sleep and quick resume, a remarkable feature for PC gaming, or the simple fact that it comes with a nice case and long power cord. There is much to love here, but that brings us to the drawbacks I was talking about earlier. First, there's the Steam Deck operating system. I love it. I bet you didn't expect that. What I don't like is that due to its Linux roots, games and software just aren't always compatible. You better not be thinking about playing anything with some sort of anti-cheat system in place. Good luck getting that running. A good example here is Call of Duty. You still can't play this on the deck. And only recently, Halo Infinite became playable online. Or say a game has some sort of third-party browser like they all have nowadays. Looking at you, EA and Ubisoft, they still very rarely work right away or properly for that matter. I often try to log in and it just won't go through, or there's some kind of other issue and I have to reboot my Steam Deck first. Or how about this? It's supposed to remember your user information. Instead, they have you log in every single time you start the game. It's no big deal, it's just a bit annoying. I'm probably being a bit harsh because I really do love what Valve is doing with the Steam operating system. It works nice and smooth most of the time, especially when you stick to Steam verified and playable games. But here's my bigger problem with the Steam Deck. You might have noticed that I haven't talked about performance yet, and that's because it's a two-sided sword. On the one hand, I'm absolutely amazed by what the Steam Deck can do, especially if you look at the price of these devices. For either $400 for the LCD or $550 for the OLED model, there is simply no other handheld PC out there that offers even close to similar value. 7th console generation and earlier will be a breeze for your Steam Deck, and even games from the 8th generation will be very playable as long as you don't mind some graphical downscaling and a 30 frames per second cap. But this is where the problems start to arise. More recent games have their problems and are often just too big for the Steam Deck. Take a look at this chart I put together late last year. You can see a good number of these games are already basically unplayable, and believe me when I say I am very lenient when it comes to judging playability on the deck. Now in 2024 we see this incompatibility stamp show up more and more, and this will only get worse when time goes on. This is of course only natural. Devices become outdated and we get new ones. The big problem is that Valve isn't actually planning on releasing a new Steam Deck anytime soon, and going by what little they've said, it's very likely we won't be seeing a new Steam Deck till at least 2026. But I don't want to end on this sour note, so let's get back to the question I posed at the beginning of this video. Should you buy a Steam Deck in 2024? If you are a filthy casual like me, who needs to find his or her gaming time between kids, work, wife, gym and life, then the Steam Deck in any of its forms will probably be a good fit for you. You can beat the price, it runs most games if you're okay with downgrades in pretty much everything. SteamOS is amazing and brings PC gaming as close to console gaming as we've ever seen. The device itself looks decent, is easy to hold and it's light. And the OLED screen, if you splurge for that, also looks great. So for the casuals it's a good fit. If you're on the other hand a hardcore PC gamer who loves 8K graphics at 240 frames per second, the Steam Deck is at most a backlog or maybe emulator machine, which it is also great at by the way. Or if you're a little more forgiving, it could even be a secondary travel PC. Steam Cloud Saves makes playing on multiple machines easier than ever. For me personally, I never thought this would be the deciding factor, but I just love those trackpads, and as long as the Steam Deck is the only one that has those, I will be a loyal Valve supporter. Let me know what you think. Are you getting one of these? Do you already have one, or are you waiting for the Steam Deck 2, whenever that might eventually show up? Take a look here for my original Steam Deck OLED review and more of my brilliant insights, and I hope to see you in the next one.